College football is back in the University of North Carolina, and Bill Belichick took the field for the first time in fall training camp. We're here to get you caught up. Welcome in, folks, to another edition of the Carolina Dad Show. We're going to try to pick up a few more of these as we get ready for the college football season. Going to sort out exactly how we want to do it. Again, just trying to find my footing. And there's a lot of Carolina Panthers content happening right now as we are in the middle of training camp for them. But today was the first day of the Bill Belichick era in the fall. And folks, there's a lot of talking heads that didn't think this day would happen. As all this unfolded in the chaos that it was, everyone pointed to June 1st. Everyone pointed to him going to the NFL. They said it's not going to happen. He's going to leave. This thing isn't going to pan out. And then you think about the off-season circus show with his girlfriend and the storylines. We're down to football. And fortunately for the University of North Carolina, that is one thing that Bill Belichick knows. It's one thing that he's good at. And now we're ready to get you guys caught up to speed. So if you followed a lot of what's happening in college football, we know a lot of teams have already kicked off. It was a little bit of delay start for the University of North Carolina. They have a limited number of practices that you can get before your first game, with North Carolina really playing in the last game of the slate. And I don't know if there's a West Coast game that comes on, but they're playing on Monday Night Football of week 1 in college football. So almost as late as you can get. So taking advantage of getting their camp started and getting prepared, as we're about a month away. And it doesn't seem real even as it is. You look at 8-time Super Bowl champion Bill Belichick, 6 as a head coach, 333 NFL wins, 3-time NFL Coach of the Year, only 14 wins away from passing Don Shula for most wins all time. And that's the reason why I think a lot of people are wondering if or when he's going to get there. This chase for history. But for right now, he is in the college game. He's here, folks. When you think about a return to his roots, very early on, he said, I grew up around college football with my dad, and I treasured those times. This move isn't just a job. It's a full-time fulfillment of a lifelong goal. I've always wanted to coach in college. There's a heavy emphasis on the program that he's trying to establish. And if you look out into next year, the recruiting class that he is starting to build up is taking shape. And it's pretty impactful right now as it hovers in the top 25, which is pretty significant. And I think we can all acknowledge that Mac Brown did a good job recruiting, and he did a good job recruiting here. So for North Carolina to be back in the fold now compared to, the last year or two with Mac Brown, that part isn't that surprising that there's stability there. It's what you can do with the talent that you have. You talk about 70-ish new players on this team, a completely rebuilt defense, likely someone new playing quarterback as the quarterback competition is going to be heating up here between Lopez, Mac Johnson, Bryce Baker. But just the general state of this team. You talk about University of North Carolina wanting to be this 33rd NFL team, getting guys into the NFL, like the ability for Bill Belichick to start flipping some of these guys from big SEC programs, from flipping guys from big Big Ten programs. Those things are tangible. And I think those things will latch on. It's just a matter of how long is he going to be here, and what does the development look like? How soon do we see success for the University of North Carolina? Well, I think it may be sooner than later, because the schedule is very favorable for the University of North Carolina this year. We've talked about their schedule, and folks, they travel outside in ACC play. There's 8 ACC games. They travel outside of the state twice. That is it. A trip to Syracuse, and they have one trip to state of California. That's it. Everything else is within the state of North Carolina because you have your triangle schools that they're playing So travel isn't an issue. It's a big opportunity. You look at their out of conference, very reasonably should be able to go 4-0. And then you pair in what they could do in ACC play with maybe their most difficult game or games with a Clemson, of course, hands down. It's going to be no doubt one of the toughest games they'll play. And that may be it. To maybe a matchup against Duke, which I do think, I know Duke had a fantastic year. Manny Diaz is doing a great job. I don't know. I think North Carolina can kind of get over the hump. Now, I'm not here to declare them a playoff team. I'm not here to declare them winners of the ACC or getting 8, 9, 10 wins and being in contention. But I do think, relatively speaking, to where this team is, if you start to look at it, one thing you'll have to realize is like, oh, we could be looking at the ACC standings here in 3 months and saying, oh, wow, University of North Carolina is right there in the mix. We could also be looking at this and saying, this is a terrible failure. And North Carolina sits there at 6-6 or 7 and whatever, and not in contention, which is not where we want this program to be. But it's culture of discipline, holistic development, like we've said, and then focusing on the team over the individual. Now, I'm not going to read through all of these, but we know there is a lot of changes when it comes to the college game. What's a catch, overtime rules, targeting, fouls, down by contact, clock management, pass interference, the differences, the limited number of practice time and practices. But I think he'll pick all that up. Like, I'm not worried about that piece of it at all. But let's talk about it. So we're here, if you want to call it, the Patriot Way in Chapel Hill with Bill Belichick at the helm. He did emphasize that these were not full training camp practices, but building blocks for evaluation and integration. Of course, he did highlight, you don't have a preseason. You don't have a time to kind of get your feet underneath you to figure it out. You have to figure it out now in camp. So that's a different approach. He's focused on ignoring any of the hype. So any of the preseason rankings, their noise, reinforcing the team's need to focus internally on their job. As I stated, we know it's a quarterback competition at play. The player who plays the best and earns that playing time will get it. So he will make the right decision when it gets here. It's not going to be a quick decision. So, it's probably going to go on through camp. And knowing Bill, he may not decide it until the night of or the day before, or even as they're taking the field. I mean, I'm sure internally they'll figure it out before then, because nothing is handed out. When you look at some of the practice playlists, I guess they had quite a bit. I did notice, for those that were there in attendance and sharing pictures and photos, that he did things off kind of further down, so there wasn't a lot of, at least in the media sessions, a lot you could see up close and personal. The quarterback gauntlet, though, as we said, one of the bigger questions with Gio Lopez, who's the transfer, Max Johnson, who's coming off that terrible injury, seems to be working his way back in, and true freshman Bryce Baker. I think it's between those three. And you look at Lopez and Johnson as two lefties, which is a little bit different. You've seen Johnson throwing in the offseason. I don't know if he's fully cleared or what he's going to look like. But quarterback play, going to be important for the University of North Carolina down the stretch. No doubt about it. So it's early, folks. We'll continue to monitor everything. I think the biggest question we're going to have is around the defensive side of the ball. How good can this team be on defense? That's what we think the strength of this team will be. If this team is going to have success, it's going to have to be defensive-led, as the offense just figures out what exactly it is going to be. It should be fun times. I mean, sold-out tickets, but there's a difference in sold-out tickets and butts in the seats, which we know. So hopefully you do see, a lot of fan engagement. If it goes a little bumpy at first, which hopefully it doesn't, hopefully fans stick by and stick with this, because I do think in a year or two from now, should we, keep things the way that they are, that we could be talking about University of North Carolina as one of the bigger programs, at least in the ACC. And then at that point, we all know the death of the ACC is very close, which as an ACC diehard, I hate it. Anyways, folks, that's going to do it for today's episode. It's Carolina Dad. Y'all have a good one.